Hey there, welcome to this video. Beth here. This is a series on the archetypes of the hero's journey. At my website, I did have my YouTube channel taken down, so all of those videos disappeared, and I've got people asking me. So I thought, you know what, it's time. Even if I could find them, which I might not be able to, then here I am updating them in 2024. So we're going to talk about the King archetype today on the King hero's journey. And so it's a lot about the King in this world. And that's my highest hope. It's why I started doing the King Hero's Journey podcast, to call the kings out and tell them that they're being called, or at least to highlight the ones that are receiving their calling and being an example for others in that way. So you might have done the quiz and landed on the King archetype. That's awesome. One archetype, by the way, is not better than the other, even though the King sounds so much better than the child and the rebel and the warrior and the nurturer and the lover and the hedonist, which is the last one that we talked about. It's not. Every single archetype is an avenue to freedom. Doesn't matter what your experience, then you're always just one step away from freedom. That's how God designed it, all in your favor, which is amazing. So if you haven't taken the quiz yet, you can do that at my website. It only takes 10 minutes. Come back to the video and see where you are with the King archetype, if that was the one that you got. In truth, you are all archetypes on the hero's journey. The quiz is placing you right now at this time, taking a snapshot of where you're at and where you're likely to experience the most benefit from doing the work. So that's why I'm motivated to help people understand where they are, not just who they are. And if you don't know me already, I am the author of Journey, a Map of Archetypes to Find Lost Purpose in the Sea of Meaninglessness. I'll tell you more about that after the video. I am a pattern hunter. I love freedom more than anything. I want freedom more than anything on my very best days and in my very best moments. I am a coach of 20 years, 20 plus years since surviving cancer, what I call a corporate lymphoma. I help people to deprogram and release the shadows of archetypes so that they can step through their fears and not be driven by fear, which everybody thinks they don't have, especially if they're higher up those emotional scales where it's more hidden. And that tends to be the case here in the freedom movement, where I stuck my neck out 4 years ago, lost all my friends and family in the process, but I gained new friends and family, and maybe you are among those. And I also train coaches. So coming up in 2024, September this year, I'm going to be taking my 6th group through a 7-month training, very intensive, where they not only, of course, learn to have the tools and techniques and know themselves in a very deep way and be able to work to their strengths and continue to release those weaknesses, then you can put a bug in my ear at my website, bethmartens.com. Let me know that you're interested in training to be a coach. Super good. Thanks, pandemic. That's what inspired me to create this training back then in 2020. I'm the host of the King Hero's Journey podcast, where you can see a number of interviews. There's 290 interviews over the last 4 years. And I use my podcast. I'll just tell you, if you didn't hear already, that I vet my my guests on my podcast so I can hear them and ask my questions, and sometimes ask hard questions. So you want to keep your eyes and ears open when you're watching those, and not just think because I had them as a guest that I think they're great. So disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. This might be what a king does. So we're going to jump in and talk about the gifts and the shadows of the king, which are very big as you go up the scale and the spiral of the archetype as the hero's journey. It's not a wheel. It's not a closed circle. It's an open circle that spirals either up or down. So we're reaching near to the end. This is the second last archetype on this spiral. And the king's sacred contract is to find authentic inner power, that they are through that power, they actually become not only a leader, but also a servant for others while doing their own inner work. So that's the sweet spot for the king. The main gifts that the king has are leading by example for others, not the tyrannical leader, which we'll talk about in the shadows, that would force their opinion on others and force their ways on others, but they themselves embody the qualities that they want their people to have. And as a result, their people pick up those qualities, whether you're the leader of a family or of a business or of a community or of a whole entire movement in the truth and freedom world, this applies to you. They're no stranger to taking responsibility. They're not afraid of that. Where the hedonists that came before would, in fact, be afraid of responsibility because that might interfere with their pleasure life, then the king is going, okay, that's it. I'm here for a bigger reason. I'm going to be decisive. I am going to be mature and grounded in my greatness, however accomplished I am. It comes with humility at the same time. All the greatness makes me more humble, not more full of myself. They create solutions for others so they can thrive. They create culture that might be not there anymore. In Canada, we're pretty void of culture. We've been void of culture for a long time. Now it's worse than ever, like really awful. They have inner authority, they have inner intuition, they can follow their guidance even when there's mutiny or there is opposition or they are at war with other kings. They create movements that benefit many, and they have a devotion to purpose that is way beyond the ego, remembering that we're in the second half of the journey here that is all about the soul and not about the ego. Not that the ego is bad, I don't talk like that. They are instrumental in cooperating with order and also creating order where there's chaos. They are, of course, mastering sovereignty, not reigning over, but reigning over evil. It would be another way to say that. Not reigning over others and dominating them, but showing their leadership. They have a high level of competence and skill mastery. They are accountable to how their actions affect everyone around them. So they might be the ones that will say, no matter what it is, I did it. That's not taking credit for it, but that is assuming responsibility, saying, hey, if people in my kingdom are suffering, how did I cause that? And how can I remedy that? Not so many people are willing to take that level of responsibility, which I admire a lot. They are manifestors. They can take something and really create something in the physical that can be shown and might have a legacy. They love legacy. They like creating for the long term, not just this life and this generation, but the future generations to come as well. They're good at managing teams. They're good at strategy, both short and long term. And they're farsighted again for that legacy. They recognize their own limits when they're in the gift. They have integrity. They're open to receiving feedback strategically, not willy-nilly from every direction, but in places that are trusted. They're calm, they're centered, and they tend to give praise and appreciation where it's due. Now, in the shadow, when this archetype is suppressed, and it is an important part of you, it's going to act out. And how does the Shadow King act out? Like tyrannical rulers. We have a whole bunch of examples of that in our life. They're easy to point to out there. They're the politicians, and they're the head of corporations that are nameless, faceless beasts that they hide behind. They need power. They need power over others, and they seek that power continuously. They're never satisfied with how much power they have, and they abuse that power. They are deeply insecure in themselves, which is why they need to continue to power over others. They rule with fear, not love. They aggrandize themselves with, it could be luxury and all kinds of things that they don't really need, but they think it's great because they have their fur coat or their diamond ring or their mansion or their mansions or their multiple everythings that really don't bring them any greater fulfillment in life once they have met their needs. They have self-importance. They have the sin of pride, where they are very often very stuck in this high energy of pride. That can be arrogance. It can be the need to be worshipped, admired, and constantly validated. They feel out of control in their life, but that's highly suppressed. So they create tyrannical situations. They create chaos. They might avoid taking care of their health and their relationships. And they only troubleshoot the problems of today and are never looking down the road to see, like, where is this headed? And they have the inability to prioritize rest. They can very much end up workaholics as a result. And they use punishment to control others instead of love, right? Love and connection are also amazing ways to be a king. They might suffer paranoia and madness, and they will withhold praise rather than giving praise, again, as a way to control others. So there's the king archetype. This one is really loaded, and again, you know, might be new to the king. You might have passed through the king phase many times, and this is a place to do a lot of work and benefit a lot of people. So I really love the kings, and I'm always calling the kings. If you would like to read about the king in my book, you can grab a copy of Journey, a Map of Archetypes to Find Lost Purpose in a Sea of Meaninglessness. I love that subtitle, even though it's as long as a chapter itself, because it really, really totally speaks to what is exactly is in. So you can visit my website, bethmartens.com, click the tab to grab my book. And if you are a king out there and or you would like to grow into the king from the hedonist, which was the last archetype on the hero's journey that we talked about before the king, please do contact me and let me know where you're at, and we can set a time to talk. There are a number of courses. You can do the King Hero's Journey course at my website, which is all of the 8 archetypes specifically for the king heroes out there that I hope get very strong and know themselves and know how to fight the good fight that we are in and be a benevolent king. All right, bye for now. I'm going to see you if you're going to follow the entire series on the next archetype, which is the alchemist, and it's the last on the hero's journey. So we'll see you over there. Bye for now.